Once upon a time in the peaceful village of Umuna, a young woman named Adaeze was renowned for her exceptional hair braiding skills. From a young age, Adaeze displayed a natural talent for braiding, and her work was admired by all. Her fingers moved with grace and speed, creating intricate patterns that left her clients in awe. As she grew older, Adeze's reputation spread beyond Umuna, and people from neighboring villages began to seek her out. Despite the stiff competition among the village hair braiders, Adaeze stood out as the best, and she was often praised for her creativity and precision. Adaeze harbored big dreams. She wanted to become the most famous hair braider in all the land, a goal that she believed was within her reach. Her ambition was not just to gain fame, but also to build a prosperous life for herself. She dreamed of one day settling down, having children, and living comfortably, all while continuing her passion for braiding hair. Her dedication to her craft was unmatched, and she often spent long hours in her shop, perfecting her techniques and experimenting with new styles. To Adaeze, hair braiding was more than just a skill, it was an art form, and she was determined to master it. One bright morning, as the sun bathed the village of Umuna in its golden light, Adaeze prepared for another busy day in her shop. She had several clients booked, all eager to have their hair braided by the best in the village. Before starting her work, Adaeze decided to fetch some water from the village well, a routine task she had done countless times. As she approached the well, she greeted the villagers along the way, her heart light with the joy of another day doing what she loved. Reaching the well, Adaeze lowered her bucket as she had done many times before. But on this day, something was different. The bucket, which usually came up smoothly, felt unusually heavy. Without a second thought, Adaeze leaned over the edge of the well to pull it up. However, the weight of the water-filled bucket was more than she anticipated, and in a sudden, tragic moment, she lost her balance. Adaeze fell into the well, her scream echoing through the village before it was abruptly silenced by the cold, dark water below. The news of Adaze's death spread quickly through Umuna. The villagers were devastated by the loss of such a bright and talented young woman. Her shop, once filled with laughter and the sound of busy hands braiding hair, now stood silent and empty. Friends and family gathered to mourn her passing, sharing stories of her kindness, her talent, and the dreams she had yet to fulfill. Adaeze had been on the cusp of achieving her goals, and her sudden death left a void in the hearts of those who knew her. Adaeze's death was especially tragic because it was so unexpected. She had been full of life, with so much more to give. The villagers couldn't help but wonder what might have been if she had lived. Her talent, her ambition, and her warmth were all snuffed out in an instant, leaving behind only memories. As the days passed, the village tried to move on, but the loss of Adaeze was a heavy burden for all to bear. Her name became a symbol of unfulfilled potential, and her story was told as a cautionary tale to the young, reminding them of the fragility of life. When Adaeze awoke, she found herself in a place unlike any she had ever known. The land of the dead was a cold, shadowy realm, far removed from the warmth and vibrancy of Umuna. Spirits moved about silently, their faces etched with the sorrow of lives left behind. Adaeze felt a deep sense of disorientation and fear. How could she be dead? She had so much more to do, so many dreams yet to fulfill. Desperately, she sought answers from the spirits around her, but they could offer her little comfort. They told her that her time in the world of the living was over and that she must now accept her fate. But Adaeze refused to accept this. She was not ready to let go of her dreams, her life, and her future. She pleaded with the spirits to allow her to return to the living world, to continue the work she had started. The spirits, seeing the fire in her eyes, warned her that the path she wished to take was fraught with danger. They told her that if she attempted to return, she must avoid being caught, and she must never look into a mirror. Mirrors, they explained, would reveal her true nature as a spirit, exposing her deception to the living. Despite these warnings, Adaeze was determined. She could not accept her life ending in such a way. With resolve in her heart, she set out to defy the natural order and return to the world of the living. Adaeze's return to the world of the living was both miraculous and dangerous. She knew she couldn't go back to Umuna, where she would be recognized immediately. Instead, she decided to start a new life in a distant village called Umueze, a place far enough from her home that no one would suspect who she truly was. When she arrived, she opened a small hair braiding shop just as she had in Umuna. To her surprise, her skills had become even more extraordinary. Her hands moved with a speed and precision that seemed almost supernatural. Clients were astonished at how quickly and flawlessly she could braid their hair, often finishing in a fraction of the time it would take others. Word of Adaeze's remarkable abilities spread quickly through Umwes, and soon people from neighboring villages were coming to have their hair braided by her. However, Adaeze had one strict rule: no mirrors were allowed in her shop. She explained this away by saying that mirrors distracted her clients and slowed down her work, but the real reason was far more sinister. Adaeze knew that if anyone saw her reflection, they would see not a young woman, but the spirit she truly was. Despite the oddity of this rule, her clients accepted it, enchanted by the incredible hairstyles she created. One day, a woman named Nkem, who had recently moved to Umwes, came to Adaeze's shop to have her hair braided. As soon as she saw Adaeze, Nkem felt a strange sense of familiarity. She was certain that she had seen Adaeze before in her old village of Umuna. Nkem had heard the tragic story of the hair braider who had died in the well, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Adaeze was that very same woman. When she asked Adaeze where she was from, Adaeze quickly denied any knowledge of Umuna, claiming she had lived in Umwes all her life. Nkem was not convinced. As Adaeze braided her hair, Nkem's mind raced with suspicion. After Adaeze finished, Nkem pulled out a small mirror from her bag to inspect her hair. Adaeze's reaction was swift and severe. She grabbed the mirror and smashed it against the floor, her voice filled with anger as she reminded Nkem of the no mirror rule. Nkem left the shop in a state of confusion and fear. After her initial encounter with Adaeze, Nkem couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Her suspicions were further confirmed when she consulted with Amaka, the village seer. Amaka listened carefully as Nkem recounted her experience with Adaeze, including the strange no mirror rule and Adaeze's violent reaction when Nkem tried to use one. Amaka, wise and attuned to the spirit world, sensed that Adaeze was hiding something unnatural. Together, they devised a plan to uncover the truth. The next week, Nkem returned to Adaeze's shop, her demeanor calm and apologetic. She approached Adaeze with a smile, explaining that she felt terrible about the mirror incident and wanted to make amends. Adaeze, wanting to maintain her growing clientele and not suspecting anything amiss, accepted Nkem's apology and agreed to braid her hair once more. The tension from their last encounter seemed to dissipate, and Adaeze, relieved, allowed herself to relax. Meanwhile, Amaka was positioned outside the shop just as they had planned. Holding a small, specially crafted mirror, Amaka carefully angled it through a window, making sure to catch Adaeze's reflection without drawing attention. As Adaeze concentrated on braiding Nkem's hair, she remained unaware of the seer's actions. The seer's heart pounded as she peered into the mirror, fearing what she might see. As the mirror caught Adaeze's reflection, Amaka's fears were confirmed. The image in the mirror was not that of a beautiful young woman, but a grotesque, haunting spirit. The reflection was terrifying, with hollow eyes and a ghostly pallor that marked Adaeze as a being of the underworld. Amaka's breath caught in her throat, but she quickly withdrew the mirror, careful not to alert Adaeze to what she had discovered. She knew now, without a doubt, that Adaeze was the spirit of the deceased hair braider from Umuna, who had somehow returned to the world of the living. With her worst fears confirmed, Amaka hurriedly left the shop's vicinity to avoid being seen by Adaeze. She later met Nkem at her home to share what she had discovered. Nkem listened in shock as Amaka described the grotesque spirit she had seen reflected in the mirror. It was clear now that Adaeze was not who she pretended to be and that she posed a danger to the natural order of life and death. Amaka explained that the only way to send Adaeze back to the spirit world was to force her to confront her true reflection. The mirror would serve as a portal, pulling her back to where she belonged. Nkem, although deeply unnerved by the task ahead, knew it was the only way to protect her village and put Adaeze's spirit to rest. Weeks later, Nkem returned to Adaeze's shop one final time. She acted as though everything was normal, chatting casually with Adaeze as she sat down to have her hair braided once more. Adaeze, now fully at ease, continued her work without suspicion. However, this time, Nkem had hidden the special mirror in her bag, waiting for the right moment to use it. As Adaeze turned her back to retrieve more thread, Nkem seized the opportunity. She quickly pulled out the mirror and held it up in front of her face. The reflection that stared back at Nkem was horrifying. Adaeze's once beautiful face had transformed into the grotesque spirit that Amaka had described. Adaeze immediately noticed the shift in Nkem's demeanor and turned around, only to see the mirror reflecting her true form. With a shriek, she realized what had happened. "No, no mirrors allowed," she screamed, lunging toward Nkem. But it was too late. Nkem, following Amaka's instructions, smashed the mirror against the ground. As the mirror shattered, a portal began to open, pulling Adaeze's spirit into the world of the dead. Adaeze let out one final anguished cry as her form was sucked into the swirling vortex, disappearing from the world of the living forever. The villagers of Umuweze were puzzled by Adaeze's sudden disappearance. Her shop, once lively and filled with clients, now stood eerily silent and abandoned. Rumors spread quickly, with some saying that Adaeze had simply moved on to another village, while others whispered that something more sinister had occurred. Only Nkem and Amaka knew the truth, but they chose to keep it to themselves, knowing that the villagers might not understand or believe the story. As time passed, the memory of Adaeze began to fade, and the villagers returned to the other hair braiders in Umuweze. Life slowly returned to normal, but the tale of the mysterious hair braider who vanished without a trace lingered in the village's collective memory. Nkem, though relieved that the danger had passed, often thought about Adaeze and the tragic fate that had befallen her. Though Adaeze was gone, her legacy as a hair braider lived on. The styles she had created were still admired and imitated by other braiders in the village. Adaeze's ambition, though noble, had led her down a path of sorrow and loss. The story teaches that trying to defy the natural order of life and death can lead to tragic consequences. Adaeze's refusal to accept her fate resulted in her suffering and eventual return to the spirit world. The story also teaches us that accepting one's fate, even when it is difficult, is a crucial part of life. Adaeze's inability to accept her death led to a series of unfortunate events that could have been avoided. Finally, Adaeze's deceit in hiding her true identity eventually led to her downfall. The story highlights the importance of honesty and the dangers of living a lie. I have some questions. Do you think Adaeze was justified in her desire to return to the living world, despite the risks? Why or why not? Also, if you were in Nkem's position, would you have confronted Adaeze, or would you have handled the situation differently? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below.
If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, subscribe. Watch our other interesting videos posted on our channel. We cannot wait to have you as a member of our AKUKO Folktale TV Addict channel. Thank you so much for your support.